Marshall's thundering herd running back, Rasheen Ali, shines at the Senior Bowl. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers, join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, got a little sun today out at, or yesterday as the case may be, at the Senior Bowl. Tuesday was day one. Wednesday will be day two. We'll be here for day three-ish, making our way back to Lafayette on Thursday. 5 of the 6 Sunbelters, if you will, were in the morning session with Carter Bradley, the lone Sunbelter, in the afternoon session. So that means both Marshall players, Ethan Driscoll and Rasheen Ali, were in the morning session. Troy's Kamani Vidal was in the morning session. You had Javon Solomon in the morning session from Troy, and you had Javante Hunter in the morning session from Georgia State. So we got to talk to a couple of them. We got a quick conversation with Rasheen Ali. We hope to have all of them on the podcast coming up here soon. But we did get to talk to Rasheen Ali, and he had a really good day. I did not realize his whole story. Stumbled upon him. Met him at the Sunbelt Media Days the year after he led the nation and tied for the nation in rushing touchdowns. And then he unfortunately got injured. Now, back when we had just started the podcast, I think, for that, and kind of wondering if it was, injury or mental health break, but it was an injury. I think it was an ankle injury, right? And he came back towards the end of the year, finished strong, and, I guess it was in the East Shrine Bowl game and then the Senior Bowl. And I didn't realize he only played 1 year of high school football. I can only imagine what that's like, just learning how to put the gear on. All these guys, I know all these guys that I even grew up with. I didn't play high school football, but all these guys started, in 7th grade, and they played, they may have started before that for all I know, but I know in junior high, that's when the soccer players and the football players would be in the locker room at the same time. And to think Rasheen Ali only played until his, only played 1 year in high school football. And he's now on the precipice of going to the NFL. So he had a good day, caught the ball out of the backfield. And I did post a play where he did break one through the middle of the line. So I thought Rasheen Ali looked pretty good today. I thought Kamani Vidal looked good. I'm not sure if I saw him break one. I didn't see either running back drop a ball that was thrown their way, whether it was, practice rep when it's against air or if they're being covered. I don't think either one of them dropped it. I thought Carter Bradley had a good day. He had one ball that he threw high to, I think, a crossing tight end that could have been caught, but was well defended. Maybe should have been caught, but was well defended. And then a running back wouldn't have been, he's not on the same team as Kamani or Rasheen, and the running back dropped the ball. I think it was picked off. So, but I thought Carter looked pretty good. He threw a good out, and again, you're looking at all these different reps. That, is the ball placed, out in front? Is it behind him? Does the receiver have to turn to catch it? Remember, these guys are all learning this stuff like Monday, maybe Sunday night, if they got in, and they got basically Monday. Here are the plays. Well, how many plays can you actually learn in a couple of days? Now, maybe maybe you were able to learn, 10 for Tuesday, and then you get 10 more, although you're going to rep them again on Wednesday, and then maybe 10 more on Thursday. I don't think there's a whole offense that you can learn that quickly. And, no one's got any chemistry on the offensive line. You can't really stunt. I don't think you can stunt at the defensive line, not during an all-star game. I'm not even sure if you can blitz during an all-star game. But I thought the The Sunbelters look pretty good for day one. We'll see how day two goes. We do have a media session, so we may be able to get a little bit more, not in depth, but more time with all of the players. We get them for about an hour and a half. We get them only for about 10 minutes. It's very odd. We only get them for about 10 minutes, and football field's 100 yards long, but we're only in maybe a 30-yard section, not even. They cut us off going kind of both ways. So not really complaining, but it's very limited access at the time to try to get more than one or two players. So I was able to get Rasheen. I did talk to the Troy guys. I did talk to them, and they want to come on, right? Anytime you get, all the Power 5 guys get all the publicity. So I'm doing a Sunbelt podcast. They're happy to come on. So I did get a chance to talk with Ethan Driscoll. Did not realize he's 6'10" in cleats. Jeez, that is big. He's gonna, we got those Kansas City Chiefs tackles that look like they, start early, take a half a step back. He already looks like he's standing up. It's not easy for a 6'10" guy to get all the way down on the ground in a set stance. So I thought he had a good day, and we'll see how the rest of the week goes. You really want to impress, throughout, but if you can make a little bit of a jump or certainly retain what you did in day one to day two, then it's impressive. There are 7 quarterbacks. We'll see if any of them leave. I'm not sure who is the high. I mean, Michael Penix is here. He's got to be the highest rated guy that's here. Spencer Rattler is here. Sam Hartman is here. Bo Nix is here. Bo Nix and Michael Penix got to be the 2 highest rated ones. Bo is coming, right? He's an Alabama born and bred kid. So he was going to play in the Senior Bowl if he had the shot. We'll see if one of those QBs backs off before the game. It's kind of tough to play 7 quarterbacks, but we'll see. Other guys can tell you who looked better than some, but I the plays that I saw was really just kind of concentrating on the Sunbelt guys, and they look pretty good. I did not see Hunter from Georgia State. I thought it was in the afternoon session. It was in the morning session, so I did miss him. Although they did post it on the scoreboard that he ran one of the fastest times. So an edge guy like that with a lot of speed is good to see. So we will talk to them. Get a chance to watch them again on Wednesday. Get a chance to watch them again on Thursday, but we'll talk to them on Wednesday for sure, probably a couple of times. All right, let's take a time out. We'll get to the basketball portion of the show. It is Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let me tell you about FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl. Happy Super Bowl to all that celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. I mean, you can bet on the length of the national anthem. Probably going to be able to bet on how many times they show Taylor Swift. There are plenty of ways to get in on the action, that's for sure. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers, join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. The wind may have been blowing just a little bit more. I got chapped lips for the first time in forever. Maybe from the sun, but maybe the wind was blowing a little bit more than I could feel. All right, let's talk about basketball. Only 2 games tonight, but a couple of big ones. You got the Ragin' Cajuns hosting Monroe. And as it turns out, both these teams, end up playing Friday, Sunday, and now Wednesday instead of Thursday, Saturday, and Wednesday. So nobody has a added benefit that it just happens to be these two teams playing. It could have very well been, Southern Miss and Arkansas State. If Southern Miss had played on Saturday and hadn't had any effect with the Cajuns' power outage in Lafayette, it would be different. But in this case, nobody has an advantage. The Cajuns and Monroe both played on Sunday, and both won. Monroe with a big comeback. They've all of a sudden rattled off 3 straight wins, started 0-6 in the Sun Belt. They had won one game on the road against ODU, and they come back with a couple of wins at home. They dismantled South Alabama. South Alabama actually had a good ball game against Troy in their next outing. They didn't show up at all against Monroe. Monroe has something to do with that. And the Cajuns with a rather easy win over Arkansas State. Maybe a little, both teams, whether we like it or not, when doesn't matter, people, kids, college basketball players, when you're not used to playing a sporting event at noon, it's not necessarily easy. It should be. You get up, whatever the case is. But maybe these kids, who knows? I wasn't playing sports in college, but we didn't go to bed until after Letterman. Right? That was like 1 o'clock, right? So, because everybody's up. So when they was a sloppy basically a sloppy first half against Arkansas State, 30-24, but they went off on a 17-4 run, and that was basically all she wrote. So the Cajuns have all of a sudden won 5 ball games in a row. Monroe has won 3. It's going to be tough for Monroe to get into that top 4. They're 3 games back. But they can certainly, they're 2 games back of Georgia Southern, and they're only 1 game back of Georgia State, Arkansas State in that group. So they're not that far off from being at least in the top half of the conference. The Cajuns need to maintain. We've talked about this when we saw it coming when they started rattling off a couple of wins and then looked ahead to their home schedule. They're favored by 14.5. I think the Cajuns are going to win the basketball game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer than that. I think the Cajuns will win, but it'll probably be closer to 10 or 11. Because I think whatever water ULM is now drinking, I think they have a little bit of confidence after, a couple of wins. But for the Cajuns, they need to maintain. They need to stay hot. Like they literally, and it doesn't matter if they beat Bowling Green in a couple of weeks in that Sun Belt MAC competition again. But if they do beat Bowling Green again, they'll be on a 10-game winning streak come App State. And the thing is, some of these teams do not have hard schedules. All right. Southern Miss has a hard schedule. The Cajuns have a relatively hard schedule at the end, and maybe Troy. But App State has already swept JMU twice. They may be underdogs one more time this season. That's it. JMU, I don't think, has a difficult schedule moving forward. The Cajuns have a few more ball games that they need to rattle off as victories to maintain and have a shot at one of those top 4 seeds. James Madison is 6-3, and they beat the Cajuns. The Cajuns are 6-3. Southern Miss is 6-3, and Marshall is 6-3. And it'll be interesting to see. Southern Miss is getting. We'll get to this here in the next segment. They're getting Victor Hart back. We're going to wonder if they're going to get Andre Curbelo back. Still suffering the effects of the concussion, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And so you have those 4 teams that are 6-3. Out of those 4 teams, only 2 are going to be in the top 4. And by the way, Georgia Southern is just 1 game back, so they're not out of it either. And then you do have the teams that are 4 and 5, but Georgia State seems to have lost their way, and Arkansas State just gave up a huge lead to Monroe. So we're not sure if they're going to be in that race for a top 4. I think this should be a much better game than I thought it would be. 2 weeks ago when ULM was 0-6. Maybe they have found something. I'm certainly not going to tell you I've been paying close attention to ULM outside of them losing and then beating ODU the game after. ODU finally got another win. But whatever they're doing, Tyreek LaCure, I know Tyreek, I used to play for South Alabama, so I covered him. But we'll see. I think this game is going to be closer than I think. So I think the Cajuns are going to win, probably win rather easily, but I think ULM will cover the 14.5 points. That's what I think. All right. I will still be in Mobile. I won't be able to be at the game. I will be at, I presume, Saturday's ball game later on in the week. But we'll still be here in Mobile covering the Senior Bowl when the Cajuns are playing ULM on Wednesday. But we'll be able to watch it. That's for sure. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll talk about the Southern Miss Arkansas State game when we come back after this, when I tell you about Jay's case. I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we talk just for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade, and that is scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if one of my family members got sick with a supply chain issue, keeping them from life-saving medication that they needed. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jace Medical. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, skin infections, among others. And this stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It'll be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jacemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. jacemedical.com. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's talk about the other game that is happening tonight. It is Arkansas State hosting Southern Miss. The news of the day, at least from what I saw from Southern Miss, is that they are expected, reports have Victor Hart nursing a bad knee. He's expected to play, although apparently not start. And Andre Curbelo still suffering the effects of a concussion, and he is still out. So Southern Miss have been playing pretty well. All right. I know I got some comments about, when they lost last week to Marshall that, they were banged up. And I said, well, yeah, they were banged up, but they had been playing pretty well, right? They beat Arkansas State. They beat Troy. And they went on the road and handled Coastal Carolina pretty well. And then they just got hammered by Marshall. I personally think that ball game was more about Marshall than it was about Southern Miss. Marshall, you could want to complain about Southern Miss's defense, okay, but Marshall shot more than 56% and 8 of 18 from 3. So that game isn't really about Southern Miss not playing well. It's about Marshall playing extremely well. I mean, maybe the Southern Miss guys ran out of gas, that the ones who had been playing a little bit more than expected. Plus, it's at Marshall. It's on the road. Those games are hard. This game is hard, too. This game is at Arkansas State. So that's not going to be necessarily easy. Let's see what the line is here. I'm going to be interested to see what the line is. I'm going to say, shockingly, I'm going to say Arkansas State by 2.5. Let's see what the line is. Do we have the line? Arkansas State. Arkansas State by 4.5. That tells you because it is tough to play on the road. Arkansas State is 8-13, 4-5 in conference. Southern Miss is 6-3. They had won 3 of 4. Arkansas State did not play well against the Cajuns, and they just blew a big lead to ULM, and yet they're 4.5-point favorites against Southern Miss. I'm going to take Southern Miss. I'm going to take Southern Miss to cover and to win. I think that'll both happen. Money line is, Arkansas State minus 200, Southern Miss plus 170. It's not going to be easy though. All right. I am taking the money line, but I don't think Arkansas State wins by more than 4.5. And this is, talk about a must win for Southern Miss. This is kind of the must win. Southern Miss has an odd ending to the season. They finish up with 2 games against South Alabama and 2 games against the Cajuns. First at home and then on the road. They they don't have the toughest of all schedules either, by the way, remaining. Right? I mean, they're taking on Arkansas State, losing record overall and in conference. Texas State, they're struggling. Old Dominion, struggling. Monroe, playing better, but that's at home, so Arkansas State will be pumped up for that. They get Texas State at home, and then they do the South Alabama and the Cajuns on back-to-back weekends. So if you are Southern Miss and you want a top 4 seed, this is a game that you kind of have to win. You cannot let this one slip away. You're getting Victor Hart back. Let's see. And we're also going to find out what Arkansas State is made of, because they've had 2 really tough ball games, right? No, I'm sorry, I got my games mixed up. Texas State was the game against the Cajuns. I think I said that earlier. They were playing Arkansas State. I got those mixed up. Arkansas State is the one that had the power outage against the Cajuns. My mistake. And they came back in that ball game. They came roaring back. They were down 18 points with 10 minutes to go and made it a ball game. I don't think they ever had a chance to tie, but they got the Cajuns nervous. I know that. But then they went home, and then they went to ULM, rather, and then they gave up the 18-point lead. That I know, and they blew that ball game in Monroe. All right. I don't know if my synapses were not working. Too much sun on a Tuesday in Mobile, but I think I referred to that ball game incorrectly earlier in the podcast. So nonetheless, that doesn't change the fact that I don't think it's going to be easy for Southern Miss, but I think they will win it. And if they do, they'll cover. All right. I was even short on the points. That wasn't 2.5. It was 4.5. So those are my predictions. I thought I did pretty well last week overall. So we'll see. I didn't get them all right. That's for sure. But I think I had more right than wrong. So we're taking the Cajuns to win and probably win by double digits. ULM to cover. It's 14.5 points. That's a lot. And Southern Miss to go into Jonesboro and beat Arkansas State. All right. We will be back with more. We'll hopefully have more conversations with all the guys from the Sun Belt playing at the Senior Bowl. We'll see if we can get some good reps out and post those. You can follow me on Twitter at SchultzyCast, probably at SchultzyCast3 on Threads if I'm there as well. So thank you for all the support. Again, we're continuing to grow. I appreciate the comments. I think I have to be more thorough on the comments. I think I cut myself short and someone misconstrued what I said. So it happens when you are going back and forth, like in the comment section. So it does happen. All right, we'll continue. We'll be back in, again, we're staying through Thursday, and we'll be back in Mobile, back in Lafayette, rather, on Thursday night, and then we'll be back for the action on the weekends for the Sun Belt. So we'll watch the Wednesday ball games for sure, and then we'll figure out on how to do the episode for Friday. Probably watching replays is what it's going to be. All right. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Sun Belt, your team every day. Dave Schultz, live at Mobile at the Senior Bowl, where the draft starts in Mobile.